Today we're talking about one of the most controversial metal albums of all time, Saint Anger. This album is often viewed as useless, unnecessary, and just outright terrible. But this thinking is all wrong. Saint Anger isn't a bad album, it's just misunderstood. And today, I'm gonna tell you just how this album saved Metallica from completely imploding. Not to mention, we're gonna dive into all the crazy drama that followed the band at the time. Jason Newsted quit for reasons we'll soon get to. Lars and James started going at each other. And through it all, these guys started seeing a group therapist to help them get a grip on a monster that was threatening to end their careers. The story of this album is absolutely insane. By the way, I'm Kane Irvine. This is the heaviest show in the universe, and I am a former metal elitist basement dweller and lifelong metalhead. Metal is all I do, all the time. I live for it. Let's hop in. Here's the thing that people don't realize about Metallica at the time. Shit was hitting the fan. Jason Newsted left in 2001, citing private and personal reasons. But the true reason why he left is the genesis of this whole story. And this part is super important because it's what makes Saint Anger so misunderstood. But I'll get to that in a minute because Metallica was an absolute mess at this point. Check it out. It was around this time that they were suing Napster for illegally distributing their music. For you youngins, Napster was like Spotify before Spotify was a thing, and it gave your computer AIDS. This lawsuit resulted in tons of fan backlash. During all of this, Metallica was on official hiatus, and this resulted in public opinion of Metallica being at an all-time low. Nothing was going right for these guys at all. Just a simple watch of the first few scenes of Some Kind of Monster shows us how tense these guys were towards each other. It's no secret the way the band would haze and bully Jason Newsted. And when he left, I like to think without him there to bully, Lars and James started to turn on each other after years of putting up with the other's BS. This time, they just didn't have Jason to take that blow. It got to the point where Metallica's management group, Q Prime, told them, you gotta get therapy. And not just individual therapy, band therapy. Jason Newsted was wanting to work on his side project Echo Brain at the time. James Hetfield wasn't having any of it. And it seems like these two things really drove Jason out of the band.
It's one of the projects that I've been working on for years, and now it's come to fruition. And then when it comes to a time where my main cat, James, tells me that basically he couldn't be in a band with me if I took this other project to this level. And after 15 years of working together and going buses, and there was no way that this thing that I was doing could affect the monster of Metallica. I just don't see how it could. So in saying things like that, I couldn't accept that kind of limited acceptance. Just suggested that we have a psychotherapist come in. I actually said, I think, that this is really fucking lame, that we cannot get together. Us. I mean, and this, we can't get over this.
It's clear that this was a band that had years of pent-up turmoil between them that they never truly discussed or talked with each other about. This is further evident in the last interview these guys ever did for Playboy magazine. In retrospect, what the interviewer had to say post-interview was really sad. Quote, I wasn't surprised that Jason Newsted quit Metallica. Just 2 months earlier, I'd spent a day with each of the four, and I've never seen a band so quarrelsome and fractious. Most of the barbs were cloaked in humor. Newsted mocked Hetfield's singing, Hetfield mocked Ulrich's drumming, and Ulrich, who I interviewed last, responded to several of Hetfield's quotes with scorn. And lastly, years of partying started to catch up with James Hetfield. Sadly, it seemed like there was so much more going on than just band tensions. There's a few times in Some Kind of Monster where James mentions the amount of alcohol he's been drinking. He even missed his son's first birthday to go on a hunting trip where he talks about drinking vodka basically every day. And you hear this and wonder to yourself, is he alright? Unfortunately, he was not alright.
Frontman James Hetfield has entered a rehabilitation facility to undergo treatment for alcoholism and other undisclosed addictions. In a statement posted on Metallica's official website, the band writes, James has entered an undisclosed facility and he will continue to receive treatment until further notice. Until then, we have postponed all current activities, including recording sessions for our new album. Metallica, whose hard partying ways earned them the nickname Alcoholica.
As I'm sure you can tell, this is a recipe for disaster. This right here is the closest Metallica has ever been to breaking up. You can hear it from Lars and Kirk themselves.
I hope that at some point he will come back and try and finish the making of this record. If he walked away from Metallica, I'm not sure that it would surprise me.
Now, you and I both know that James indeed did return to the band. Metallica survived even to this day, 22 years later. How did a band going through so much turmoil manage to make it through? This is the real secret sauce to Metallica's success these past 22 years. And you've seen the title and the thumbnail. Saint Anger is truly that secret sauce. How is that possible? I'm gonna tell you. We see bands fall off all the time. No old school band is ever as good as they were when they were young and dumb and full of cum. And the same goes for Metallica. These guys pioneered the most beloved and appreciated genre of metal ever. They were never going to be those pioneers pushing the boundaries for their whole career. But they've released some killer albums these past few years, while other older bands kind of just fade away into nothing. So, what's the difference between Metallica and those old bands that fall off? Saint Anger is the difference. Think about it this way. A lot of marriages end in divorce because of poor communication over needs, wants, and deep-rooted traumas that go back years and years. There's never a release of those emotions in a healthy way. No way for them to speak about it properly. So eventually, all those bottled up emotions end in constant arguments, dismissals, and lack of real connection. It's the same with these bands. They're basically marriages. Think about what the interviewer from Playboy said earlier. These guys have years of pent-up anger at each other. And as we'd come to find out in Some Kind of Monster, James and Lars have years of issues with their parents as well that manifested into the band. Check out this clip of James trying to explain how he controlled things for years inside of Metallica.
Enough to do what he needed to do. Since he wasn't getting his creativity out enough in Metallica, he needed to get it out somewhere else, and I totally understand that now. On my side of that was, I didn't want him to enjoy that more than Metallica. I didn't want anyone to leave Metallica. I didn't want to feel that we weren't enough or something like that. And it was through I guess the way I learned how to love things was just to choke them to death. You know, don't go anywhere, don't leave, you know, you have to stay here.
Saint Anger is a mess of an album because Metallica at the time was a mess. And that's exactly what they needed Saint Anger to be. This album is the manifestation of years of pent-up emotion and anger that the band has towards the world, themselves, and each other. It's the buildup of what's going on inside each of them. The things they can't say to each other, the things they can't say to their families, the things they don't have the emotional capacity to talk about. It's all jammed and mushed into here, and they know that. There's 2 years of condensed emotion in this. We've gone through a lot of personal changes, struggles, epiphanies. It's deep. It's so deep lyrically and musically. Saint Anger is just the best that it can be from us right now, said James Hetfield upon the release of the album. The greatest strengths of this album are the weaknesses that everyone complains about. The rawness, the production, Hetfield's voice. It's Metallica stripped down to their most vulnerable and open. This album needed to happen. A lot of rough marriages make it through and live happily ever after. And it's not because they stayed the same. It's because they worked together through their individual pain. They listened to each other and heard their concerns and needs. And those conversations eventually lead to a catharsis, a releasing of emotions that was keeping them in a constant state of pain and anger. And that's what Saint Anger is for Metallica. It was their emotional release that allowed the band to heal the fractures in their relationships. And Jason Newsted leaving really showed the rest of Metallica that they needed to figure something out or implode like countless famous bands over the years. And because they did figure it out, they did go to work on themselves, they did talk about their issues with one another, they were able to form this negative energy into the album that was Saint Anger. And now Metallica are bigger than they ever have been. Seriously. They've reached heights that no metal band ever has or ever will. They didn't implode in a state of addictions and anger. They didn't let their traumas or past issues completely take them down. They channeled those issues into an ugly piece of art that saved them from self-destruction. There aren't many bands, not just metal, that are still as big and successful as Metallica from that same era in time. They're all strung out, lame, and lost a passion for it. But I have seen Metallica 6 times in the past 15 years, and they slap every single time. And they haven't even played Blackened once in those 6 times. What fuck. Anyway, the reason why bands like the Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses aren't nearly still as big as Metallica is because they have no Saint Anger. They didn't put in the work to heal themselves. They didn't put in the work to heal their bandmates. And that's why Saint Anger isn't bad. It's just misunderstood. So the next time you listen to it, think about how it's allowed Metallica to be at metal's pinnacle for the last 22 years. Really listen to those lyrics and that god-awful snare drum and think about it. Think about how this is all just a huge emotional release for Metallica. And I promise you, you'll see it in a whole new light. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out this banger right here about how Chuck got kicked out of death before he created Human. Or if you ever wanted to hear about the absolute genius that is Trivium, you can check out this banger right here. Thank you so much for watching, and long live metal.